Hi everyone, my name is Carol Owala and I'm the co-founder of Big Picture Learning Kenya, which is an organization that partners with Girl Rising. And with me today I have a special guest. She's going to introduce herself and then we'll carry forward with the conversation. Why don't you introduce yourself, Barline?
Okay, so my name is Muteo Barline Lukalishi. I study at Highlink Education Center. I'm in grade 11 and I'm also part of Big Picture Learning Kenya as a student, but I'm also passionate about law and I wish that maybe if I finish high school studies, then I'll go and pursue law as a career. Yeah.
Great to know.
Thank you.
So we'll get into the conversation. Barline, we are soon celebrating International Women Day.
Yeah.
And this year's theme is Women in Leadership. And under Women in Leadership, we are looking at achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions just to get to understand what your thoughts around that is. I know you're one of the girls that has done so much in your community. So maybe could you please share with us just your leadership story? How did you know, I also know you've done some sessions, around the Girl Rising curriculum. So could you just share with us what you've learned out of that, and then we'll go specifically to some of the work that you've done in your community.
Okay, so I'll start with the Girl Rising program and maybe I'll just start with what it has just taught me about life. So for example, like through Girl Rising, I now know about the power of support, because sometimes you say that you want to succeed but you cannot succeed being alone. It's not a matter of competition, it is a matter of supporting each other in order for you to pursue something which can help others, and that I learned that through Girl Rising program. And then something else is that about us girls, we as ladies, something that I learned and it really inspired me is like, yes, both genders do face challenges, and both boys and girls, but what I know is that most of us girls do face challenges, but we do fear to talk about them. But what I learned is that it is our right to talk about this issue, it is our right to say about what's affecting us, because we have the power. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So you've talked a lot about ladies and some of the things that you've learned from Girl Rising, specifically around how we as women can support each other, working together, raising our voice about things that matter. So I'm going to ask you to talk specifically about the amazing project that you did.
Okay.
Because it's so related to, when we look at leading in the time, in crisis, and leading during COVID-19. You did a lot.
Okay.
So tell us, how did you even come up with this idea?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. When it comes to me, like when it comes to leading, I see leading as a way of inspiring people, a way of influencing people to make change or to make an impact at a particular place. So during this COVID-19 period, it has done actually quite a lot. It has brought both positive and negative things to us, but I would say that I managed to do a project, that one which went through Big Picture Learning program, because we were taught about projects. Yeah, so I was like, what can I do for my community, because it's all about giving back to the community. So after learning about project work, I was like, what can I do during this COVID-19 period? And because from where I come from, my father is actually an elderly, his age actually. So I was like, what can I do to just make the people, the elderly, to understand more about COVID-19, to get the correct information, and just be like, this is how we should go, or this is how we should go ahead during this crisis. So what inspired me first of all is like from where I come from. My dad is actually an elderly person, and then I was like, let me just do something so that they can know more information about COVID-19. Something else that inspired me to do this project is because I was just like, if these elderly people have more chronic conditions and they don't have COVID-19, so what if this person gets COVID-19? What will happen to that person? Because someone has a heart disease and he or she doesn't have COVID-19, so what if he has COVID-19 and then addition to the disease, what will happen? And I was like, we really need to look after these people because we really forgot about them.
Yeah. So how was that process? So maybe share a bit about what that project, managing and leading that project entailed. Yeah, what it was that
Okay.
like? Yeah.
So when it comes to project work, you really need to get that information of the people you're actually working with, and you can't just go to the people who you are working with. Like for me, I could not just go to the elderly alone. You also need to know the information about what people are thinking about that issue that you want to handle. So the process was really like educative process, because like for example, I had to do interviews. Yeah, I've conducted interviews with the elderly people, with doctors, and also those who live around the elderly people. Yeah, and it is not an easy journey, because not everyone is willing to help you, but it was also something educative, because it really teaches you like challenges are there. Then something else is like, I will talk about it in terms of education, because when you want to give people information, you really have to go out of your comfort zone. So for example, I had to come up like with a project proposal, and I would say that I did that through education, because without education, how would I have come up with this project proposal? And also a handbook, yeah, so that maybe people can just learn more about the elderly and COVID-19 and how we can just help them. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that, Barline. I know that you're a student.
Yes.
And you come from, maybe tell us a bit about the community that you're coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I study at a community school, and in our country, like let me say in our country, Kenya, people who study from community school usually come from marginalized communities. These are places where we have slums, and there are those stereotypes which are formed because of these schools and because of these people who come from these informal settlements. Like for example, you can just hear people saying like, you can't make it if you come from these communities, which is not actually true. So I just want to change like the idea that the people have, to just be like, you know what, you can make it from where you are. You don't have to come from a big place. You don't have to come, from that exact rich place, but you can just make it from where you are. Yes.
Really interesting and inspiring.
Yeah.
So the last question that I would love to, it's not actually a question. I would just love for you to look at the camera.
Okay.
You've talked a lot about change.
Yeah.
And the fact that it doesn't matter where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Anyone can make change.
Yes.
And you're also one of the students who went out of your way to actually lead a project, come up with a project and lead it without money.
Yeah.
So as we celebrate women in leadership, we celebrate International Women Day.
Yeah.
What message do you have to your peers, but just also women in general?
Okay.
Yeah. So look at the camera and share.
Okay. So I would just like to tell all the ladies wherever they are, don't look at where you come from. Don't look at who you are, but just look at what can I do. Don't look at like I don't have this. Look at what can I do to influence these people. What can I do to make a change? Because they say that change starts with you yourself. You don't have to be like, I don't have this money. No. When I was starting my project, I did not have anything, but I just said like, I can influence by talking to people, sensitizing. So just go out there, show people like you can still do it without having anything, but you can just start by yourself. Yes.
Thank you so much, Barline.
Yeah.
Yeah.